afternoon, everybody, and welcome to our Financial Services Council New Zealand Connect series for 2022. We have a good number of you have dialed in this afternoon, so thank you for taking your time, and you will not be disappointed, I can assure you of that. This is going to be a very interactive session, so I'm encouraging you to use our chat line as facilitator. I will make sure that your questions are asked of our lovely panelists today. It's very much my pleasure to welcome 5 passionate, professional wahinis in our New Zealand financial advice services industry. These ladies have been in the industry for a number of years, have different skill sets, come from different backgrounds, and run different businesses. And they were very obliging in giving up their time today to come in and talk to you. So we really want to cover the topics of women in the financial services industry as advisors, and also talk a little bit about financial clients that are females. We've got some statistics that are pretty interesting, saying that a lot of women feel that their financial literacy levels are at all-time lows, and that a lot of women prefer dealing with a woman as a financial advisor. So settle down, put that cup of coffee in your hand, and we'll get started. Just a little reminder that this is being recorded today, so if you don't get your questions across or you want to listen to some of the tips or advice that these ladies are giving you, please feel free to listen to the recording when the Financial Services Council put this up. And look, I'd like to also lastly thank the Financial Services Council and the team for delving into topics such as these. We've got this sort of as the start of a number of Connect series that are coming up, and I'll talk to you about those at the end of this session. But there's certainly a big consideration from the Financial Services Council in supporting advice across all New Zealanders. So now what I'm going to do, I've said to the ladies, they've got 1 to 2 minutes each to do some introductions for themselves. So if you can turn your videos on, ladies, and we will get started. And so Jude Drummond from Stratus in Wellington. Jude, I met you a number of years ago, and I have to say you are one of the more passionate people that I've seen in our industry, and I know you've got a lot of skills that you bring to the table. So perhaps a 1 to 2 minute introduction from yourself. Thanks, Jude.
Lovely. Thank you, Trisha, and welcome everyone. My name's Jude Drummond, and I joined my financial services business in 2008 in an admin role when our youngest was only about 10 years old. I'd done 13 years running my own business and 13 years in a bank before that. And for me, both led me down the path to now become a financial advisor. And then with the support of both my advisor business and my family, and with a great big dose of, yes, I can do this, I stepped into being an advisor, then became a shareholder and now general manager of our business unit. It's a big leap, but one that I've not only gained a lot of knowledge, but job satisfaction from as well. And because of this, I'd love to see more women stepping into the industry and supporting other women using our mutual communication and understanding skills. I leave it to you, ladies.
Cool, thanks, Jude, and I endorse all of those comments that you've made. I'd now like to introduce Joe Kiro. I think, Joe, I'm going to give you the award for the best background today. It looks fabulous. And I know, Joe, that you've got an interesting story and a journey that you've come from. So please share that with us.
Thank you, Trish. Kia ora koutou, everyone. I'm Joanna Kiro, and I'm the director and founder of Kiro Management Limited. We're a family-owned fire and general insurance brokerage, and if I was to tell you how long I'd been in this industry, i.e. insurance, it would be many 2 years, and it would probably give my age away. But I joined the industry in 1996, and like Jude, I worked my way around the admin area in various different roles, credit control, jumped around a few insurers like back in those old days it was AA Insurance and HIH, and then on to Mike Henry Travel, and you name it, I gave it a go anywhere in the industry. And what I really enjoyed about the industry was the ability to gain some real skill sets that I found were really transferable. and that was probably one of the biggest gains that I got. I also enjoyed moving over to Australia. I absolutely landed in claims unit, running insurance claims units here in New Zealand and Australia, and had a great time, you know, working in the industry from that perspective. And then I actually returned back to New Zealand to start my life as an insurance broker, or nowadays in the new legislation it's a financial advisor. So I have been an insurance broker for close to 10 years of my life, and I really love the ability to firstly own my own time in my own business, and secondly to advocate strongly for my clients. So I'm really excited about the discussion that we're going to have today, and to join a wonderful panel of women that are expertise in their own rights. So thank you.
Thanks, Jo, and I'm looking forward to hearing more about these skills, so thank you for that. Now, Annabelle Shand from here in Christchurch, working for Craig's. So welcome, Annabelle, and now's your chance to introduce yourself.
Thank you, Trisha. So yes, I'm Annabelle Shand, and I'm a financial advisor with Craig's Investment Partners here in Christchurch. I started with Craig's 7 years ago with no clients. So I'm pretty proud of what I've achieved in the last 7 years to build up my client base. It's been hard work, but very satisfying. Craig's is a New Zealand-wide investment advisory firm. In Christchurch, we've got 21 financial advisors, and which 9 of those are women, which has enabled us to create a really cool women's health and wealth platform, which we enjoy hosting our clients and referrers on a regular basis. Just to note too, Craig's has 185 male advisors, 185 advisors, but 51 of them are female. So we're very conscious of the fact about getting those numbers up. Prior to Craig's, I had 7 years with ANZ Private looking after high net worth clients. So quite different to Craig's, I actually stepped into a client base of 60. So that was a really great job, learning all about investing, but also getting to know my clients and building them up. So how I initially started in the industry, I accepted a job at Jordan Sandman Smythe. I didn't even know what the share market was. It was a very small team and a really fun team. I had a great manager who encouraged me to learn and grow, and then gave me the opportunity to be an investment advisor, which I've thoroughly enjoyed my over 20 years experience in the industry, and very passionate about getting women involved in the industry and investing for themselves. So thanks, Trisha.
Cool, thanks, Annabelle. And interesting that you say it's nearly a 50% woman ratio in your Christchurch office. So you're making good strides there. We just need to let that carry across to the rest of the country. So thanks, Annabelle. I'd now like to introduce Deb Floyd. Deb works at ANZ Bank here in Christchurch as part of the private bank and investment specialist team. She's just recently taken up a new role. So Deb, over to you.
Oh, thank you, Trisha. Yes, so as Trisha said, I work for ANZ and work with Trisha, and had the privilege of working with Annabelle in the past. I have recently taken on a new role, which is the Senior Advice Manager. So I lead a team of 20 investment specialists across the country. So I've got a team from Auckland through to Dunedin, and we look after our clients both face-to-face and remotely. So some amazing opportunities there to get advice out to a lot of people across the country. I have been with ANZ for just over 20 years, so it has been a journey. I started in retail banking, came through retail, did a bit of leadership, and have worked in the private bank team since the end of 2009, so just over 12 years. Like a number of women on the call today, I have taken time off with family and juggled the family and career things that have kind of gone on over the years. So I'm really privileged to be sitting here today, kind of having a talk to you about what's happened over the years and how we've kind of evolved. I get a lot of satisfaction about working with my individual advisors and also their clients to help them achieve their goals. I'm so aware that we can do so much for so many people across the country by helping them and setting them up for the future. So that's one of the things that really drives me. Another thing that I'm really passionate about is getting behind women and getting them involved in a lot of things. So I do a wee bit of work around International Women's Day, particularly at ANZ, and building some networks there. And that kind of leverages off some of the work I did in 2019 with Global Women, which is another organisation that really champions diversity and inclusion. So, yep, I just wanted to say that I'm really looking forward to speaking to you all today. It's been a privilege so far, and I look forward to hearing more and answering some questions. Thanks, Trisha.
Thanks, Deb. And you raise an interesting point, I think, for a lot of women around juggling children, and having that time out of their workforce. And we talk about the gender pay gap, and we talk about the gap in savings and whatever. So I think we'll talk about a lot of that today as well. So thanks, Deb. And lastly, my pleasure to introduce Anne Morrell from Trustees. So Anne, over to you, please.
Hello, yes, and I have to say it's an amazing privilege to be sitting amongst such a group of experienced and diverse women as well. So thank you for letting me be a part of this. I've been in the finance industry for many, many years, and like Deb and yourself, Trish, and Annabelle, I started in banking and as a young teenager, and in those days you accumulated your knowledge through the various different departments that you tracked through, from sort of the old Micah department, tellers, customer service and term deposits, international lending, every department all gave you another layer of knowledge and information. And it was probably in the mid-90s when investment advice within banks was really in its formative years, and I was with the Bank of New Zealand, and the investment services division was in the Christchurch branch or the Armagh Street branch that I was working in, and I just watched what they did and liked what I saw. And one of the advisors took me under his wing and essentially mentored me and directed me into the study that I needed to have in those days to become a certified financial planner. So I undertook the study, and once I became qualified, was fortunate enough to go into the private bank and grew my knowledge from there. And, sort of 20 plus years on, I've moved across to Trustees Executors, and, we're a financial institution of a slightly different sort from a bank, and that we still offer client services across a whole range of wealth needs. And I love my job. I feel very, very fortunate to be in a job a role that I really enjoy being in. I think just listening to the numbers, we can see that the issues are getting more women involved, and we know across every industry that gender diversity just, it brings better decision making and better outcomes and better performance for everyone involved. And I think making that a focus for all businesses, and ours in particular now, it will bring nothing but good things. So
fabulous.
Here we go.
Thanks, Anne. Well done, well done. And so, look, I think to stimulate some discussion, and this is a question that we have put out quite publicly about some research that McKinsey did recently, and it talked about by 2030, which in fact is not far away. So, when I kind of was thinking about it earlier today, it's just around the corner. There's going to be about $30 trillion in the marketplace, and that's sort of being owned by baby boomers, and the bulk of them are women. And so the question is, how do we encourage women to take financial advice? We know that a lot of women have said, I'm not in a position to take financial advice because I haven't got enough savings. I've had too much of a gap in my working life that I just, and it really is probably more for my partner and I as a group rather than individuals. So in the same order that we went through, Jude, I'm going to ask you the question, and that is, so how do we better connect with women and promote them getting financial advice?
Thank you, Trisha. I think my head immediately goes back to a meeting that I had recently with a lovely couple. We'd been working with them for investment insurance for some time, but when I first met them at their lovely home, we were sitting around their kitchen table, and she was pottering away at the sink. It was dinner, whatever, and said, look, I know it's my investment too, but can you just talk to my husband? And I said, no, I wasn't happy to do that. Her name was there. She's involved. Would she please come and join us? And then over a period of 5 years, in the example of this couple, we've got to the point where our last meeting together, it was her asking me the questions and putting forward thoughts and what did I think of this. So I think it's partly falls back on us as advisors perhaps to make sure that if we're in a situation where we have a couple there, drawing all parties into the conversation?
Yeah, interesting point that you make. And I think, Jo, I'd like to hear your comments on it, but also getting this intergenerational coming into the conversation as well, so that bringing the generations through. But Jo, your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I agree. I think with women or people in general, there's a natural fear because they don't know what they don't know, and our job is to help them understand that. So for me, it's sitting down, and I agree with Jude, with all parties, because they often don't make the decisions one without the other. And sitting down with them and really helping them demystify whatever the barriers or the challenges are in their heads around taking financial advice, whether that be insurance or investment planning or whatever it is, and really helping them to understand that first and foremost. So knowledge is power to me, and I think that that's a real key, important factor in giving financial advice to clients, and in particular with women. What I like about women is they have a natural ability to multitask, and like Jude said, they can be doing the dishes or something else, but they're listening and they're hearing everything, and they've got a million and one things going on in their heads, but when they do sit down and take that time to actually work with you, they come up with the best ideas and the best plans that best fit their family. So that's really good.
Yeah, and I think it is, as you say, it's encouraging that, and knowledge is power. So I don't know what you think, Annabelle, stimulating that conversation.
Yeah, well, moving between a broking house and a bank, two quite different sort of areas to sort of deal in. I think when I was at the bank, you had a big team. You had the ANZ team. You could go and ask sort of for information and or get referrals and things like that. And then whereas now being at a broking house, we are having to go out and build networks. And so we're setting up lots of women networking groups, which is great. And we then sort of feed through referrals like that. I do feel women a lot of my clients prefer to deal with a woman. They sort of feel that they're going to ask a silly question and may not ask a question if it's a male. So it's about, picking people up, teaching them along the way and ensuring they're enjoying their retirement.
Yeah, and I think you're right. Like as you said, Jo, asking that silly question, in fact, is building to their knowledge base, and it's giving them that confidence to know it's not actually a silly question. It actually makes sense, and it's I've got to have all the information in front of me. So, Deb, your thoughts on in encouraging this?
Thanks, Trisha. I was reading an interesting study the other day that came out at the end of last year, which is around women in sport. And it's an interesting kind of analogy because what we were seeing, there was a lot of things that were holding women back in sport. And I sat back and thought about it, and they really resonated for some of the reasons why I think some of our women don't necessarily either seek advice or get involved in advice. And I think it comes down to three key things. It's really important to have really good role models in the industry and people that you can talk to, so that you can talk to someone who's got a similar background to you, who's motivated. You can kind of see where they've gone and where they're getting to. The second thing is about encouragement. I think that in general women like a little bit of encouragement, just to be involved and to talk a little bit more and ask that next question, as Jo was saying. So that's the second part. And then also the third part is around how we can demonstrate the different solutions and the benefits of taking advice to set people up for the long term. So I think they're probably the three things for me in terms of how we promote advice, is we make sure that we've got some really good role models out there, that we're encouraging others to get involved, and that we're taking time to make sure that people understand the solutions and the benefits of taking advice.
Yeah, and I think, look at the five of you, and you are role models in your own right, so don't lose sight of that. But I think, that's what people are aspiring to. So Anne, your thoughts?
Gosh, it's really hard to come in last on all those wonderful ideas and thoughts that have come through, and I would endorse every one of them. I think probably following on from both Deb and Annabelle, it's also about, I think women listen better and listen to the nuances of what's being heard. And I think as women, we also like to believe that we are being listened to and, not being overspoken or disregarded, which can sometimes happen if our viewpoint is not necessarily being held in equal value in the conversation. So as advisors, as Jude said, it's really important to bring every party into the discussion and, to just listen to what is really being said. And women bring a different perspective to the table. And, again, as I said earlier, everyone benefits from that.
Yeah, it's interesting. I was trying to get some stats to share with everyone today to see what the percentage of women there are across the 9,100 plus advisors in New Zealand at the moment. And I can't get the stats, but looking back to 2018, one of my colleagues has just sent me a little bit of a chat line now saying back in 2018, 25% of the AFAs were females. So there is obviously still a distance to go, and I need to delve a wee bit further and find out about that 9,000. So Annabelle, I'm interested, how do we mentor young people coming through, grads or whatever they might be? How do we mentor them into looking at financial services and being an advisor as a profession?
Well, what I've done is actually I went and got myself a mentor who I've been dealing with for the last 5 years. She was great professionally for me and personally for me. And she has just added structure. We sit down once a year. We then and do set a massive plan. We then meet each quarter. And it's funny, I think, because I obviously have been following her, really enjoyed her, have seen myself grow with her. I've actually had a few people ring and say, I want to be like you. Who are you dealing with? So I think people see you and think, oh, actually. But again, too, there's so many platforms that you can contact people, like people messaging me for a coffee over LinkedIn. Can I have a coffee? I've read your profile. There's so many. It's people just need to, if they really want to do it, go out and find it. There's people there to chat away to. So then, and I would hope I would be a good mentor in the office too. We've got lots of lovely young women in our office, and more than happy to go and have a chat. So it's just really being confident enough to go and tap someone on the shoulder and say, hey, can I have a chat? But I think mentoring has been fabulous for me anyway.
Yes, and that's where it goes in hand and aligns nicely with being that role model as well. So, yeah. So Jude and Joe, I look at both of you and think you have got your own businesses. You've obviously decided that that was the way that you wanted to go. There obviously would have been some challenges and roadblocks, not only as being a business owner, but also for being a woman. So, Jude, can you just kind of share your journey on what that was like and your challenges and roadblocks? And I guess also kind of the bouquets that were thrown your way. It's not all about brickbats. There'll be some bouquets. And then, Joe, if you could follow on from Jude.
Thank you, Trisha. So when my children were coming to an age where I felt that they were sorted primary school-wise, I started getting very frustrated with the little business that I was running because it was a business of one, and sadly there was only one person at the Christmas party. And I remember thinking, I need to go to an office to talk to people, learn a bit more, and then have someone to have a Christmas party with. And I really did fall on my feet stepping into an already established advisor business, but really found with that advisor business, I felt that they were doing good work. And I found that I wasn't not embarrassed or ashamed, but I started becoming proud of what I was learning and what they were doing, and had the opportunity to step from an admin to an advisor role, did that, but realise as I get older, I'm actually a person that's not happy to sit back and just let others take the lead and make decisions. And that's where I found that me putting my hand up and saying, actually, I'd like to be considered as the management team, and then I'd like to be considered as a shareholding for my family and I to have a future retirement option. It didn't always feel very comfortable, but I've really enjoyed it. But for me, it was being brave, making that step. But like Annabelle said, when you've got a good team around you supporting you, you do feel like keeping on going. We can do it. You've just got to be brave.
Yeah, and I think it is that courage and that confidence, as you say, and being able to put your hand up. So Joe, your journey?
Thanks, Trish. And I just wanted to pick up on something that Annabelle said, and that's around the mentoring. I was really lucky to have a fantastic mentor to show me the ropes, and they showed me everything on how to run a fire and general insurance brokerage. So I did all the job roles. I basically did the premium funding, I did the domestic claims, the commercial claims, I serviced the commercial area, I ran the bordereaux and paid the underwriters, I did credit control, and then once that happened, I got given a pathway to do my qualifications. So it was almost like I had pretty much a written song sheet that just, went really well for me. So that gave me the confidence to be able to go out and start my own business. So in 2013, I started Kettle Management, and I wasn't alone. I was lucky to have I was joined by my niece, who just finished her degree actually in marketing from Waikato Tech, and she didn't know what she wanted to do. So I said, oh, well, you might as well come and join me in my business, and we'll make it our business. And that's how and then I convinced my sister to join me as well, because that's the beauty about insurance. It's transferable. The skills, if you've been doing administrative skills somewhere else, you can absolutely give this industry a go. So it was a humbling experience when I first started, because I had a client base of 0. And I went from earning what you would earn in the industry to a nice round figure of 0 income. So I think if that was the challenge to begin with, but I guess for me, I asked myself what were my whys and why did I want to do this. And a bit like Jude, I was really keen to, once my niece joined and my sister joined, create a family legacy. And the benefits actually that I had no idea when I first started was that I actually got to own my own time. I could work any time I wanted. The flexibility was amazing, and yes, of course, when you're starting out, it's always hard, and you'll hear that from many people that start up in business. But if you can get through the first 2 years with and as Jude alludes to, be brave. You will succeed. Surround yourself with really great business mentors. And I think the other thing is that I found, which was equally as important, was just the support from your own family, if you've got it, who believe in you, and your friends that believe in you, and you can do it. So yes, that's what I found with starting my business.
Great story, Jo. I look forward to seeing you on centre stage picking up some award in the very near future. Anne and Deb, Anne, I've had a question from one of our listeners, and it's about, how can advisors not only reach more women, but, diverse women of different backgrounds, and, not all women are the same. And so, things such as culture play quite a role in attitudes towards money. So any thoughts on that comment?
I think the main thing that we can do as women, the women on the panel, the women who are participating as well and watching this, the best thing that we can do is talk about our industry. And I think I come back on both Jude and Jo sort of alluded to the fact of being brave. And I don't know that being brave it's a hard thing, and it's a hard thing for women to step up, and especially if they feel like they're on their own, making that that initial step. And that goes both ways. And being an advisor, to step up and promote yourself as an advisor, and in the first instance to step up and ask for advice as well. So we need to help all the women around us. That's all of the women around us. That's our mothers, that's our sisters, that's our daughters, our friends, everybody. We need to talk about what we do openly and share our experiences. And, telling our stories is the best way that we can do that. And we don't need to be telling the world, we just need to sit down and talk to our best friend. We can ask them what they're doing. What are their children doing? If they've got children at school, this is a great career. If they thought about doing this, we have within our own networks, we have a vast community that we connect with directly ourselves, that we can encourage, either to take advice or to go down the path of being an advisor. So I think sharing the story is the best thing that we can do.
I think all of us will agree, and probably everyone dialed into this call today, that we are good storytellers, us women. And if I've learned anything over the years, when you're talking to clients and customers, the one thing they relate to is your story. Your story, Joe, about your family being involved in your business. Your story, Joe, about Jude of 2008, and what was your kind of defining moment. So, Deb, what are your thoughts on that and encouraging these people that have different attitudes towards money, especially women?
Can I just throw something in there? Sorry, Deb. I just wanted to follow on from Trish with that it is about sharing the story. And I've actually forgotten what I was going to say, to be honest.
Okay,
I had it all there. I'll come back to it if I remember.
All good. Deb.
Wonderful. Thanks, Trish. I think it comes back to what we talked about before. We know as advisors, we know that people who seek advice get better outcomes over the long term. So it's about getting the right people in front of the clients, and that comes back down to that role modelling, and also accepting that there's a lot of people out there who have got a lot of skills and a lot of information and a real big drive to help others succeed. And you can look at that in terms of the way that Jo set up her business, the way that Annabelle's take on mentoring things. The more people that you can talk to and get involved from all walks of life, the more role models we'll create. And the more role models we create, the better chance we have of talking to more people, encouraging them to get advice so that we can set them up for the long term. So coming back to what Anne was saying and to what you were saying, Trisha, it's sharing those stories. It's finding the people who have a real drive and a real passion to help others. And I keep coming back to that point, because at the end of the day, if we help more people, we can increase, some of the financial literacy across New Zealand. And the better financial literacy we have, the better kind of communities we can have, and people continue to thrive. We can create those legacies that Jo and Jude were talking about, and we can help others with those. And I think that's where I get my satisfaction from. But there are so many people across New Zealand who feel like that. So if you can combine that with wanting to talk about different financial products to help people achieve, and kind of looking at with that lens, we can really look at how we can bring more people into the advice industry.
Yeah, and I guess, Deb, while I've got you there, obviously now, we're in an environment where advisors are all qualified, and investors and customers and clients can feel comfortable now that they're coming to, I guess, an almost even playing field. So can you kind of talk to me about translating getting qualified into getting good advice?
Absolutely. So I think that, over the years, the industry's really, lifted its game. So, you look back 10, 15 years and, we've become more and more professionally qualified. And it's now really good that we've got this external recognition of our qualifications. It gives a lot of our clients the confidence to trust our advice. And I think the really important thing is getting good support wrapped around you early on in your advice career. So once you've got your qualification, getting that support wrapped around, and also drawing on your experience. I think that, again, as we touched on before, it's our stories that set us apart. So if we can draw on experience, if we can draw on our stories, if we can then draw on, the learning that we've had throughout our qualification, and kind of package that up and talk to a number of different people and bring them along the journey as well, I think that's the key thing. So very much balancing, what you've learned plus the support that you're getting in your personal story and your experience will set you up to be a really good advisor.
Yeah, and that's a really good segue into something that you said, Anne, when we were having a catch up last week about banks, for example, being like a nursery and a breeding ground. And Deb's just talked about, what you've learned in the past and bringing that through. Do you want to elaborate a bit on that, Anne? Because it was quite interesting, your thoughts around that.
I think, as I said, I started my banking career, or my career in banking, and started, at the lowest possible level and accumulated the knowledge along the way. And I think banks in particular don't necessarily operate on that basis any longer, that, new staff tend to come in more specialised roles. They sort of come in specifically to work in a kind of department, and there's not necessarily the same movement across the whole of the banking industry as there potentially was before. And the skill levels that they gather are a little bit more focused on particular areas. And so I think across many industries, the other aspect of it is that women traditionally land in the back office administrative type roles. It just happens to be the way that it happens. And I think that many of those roles don't necessarily get the same recognition by way of success. They're not seen as successful in the same way that, an advisor or a manager or somebody bringing a $2 million deal across the table is high fives all round. The person who's been sitting in the back office doing all the work doesn't necessarily get the same visible kudos about it. So when it comes to applying for roles in the financial advice industry, it's very hard to demonstrate success if you've been in the kind of the background of a successful business. You don't necessarily have the same glow of sales success potentially, but the work is still critical to that success. There's no doubt about it. So employers themselves need to seek out those employees who can demonstrate or express a desire to work with clients. And, employers themselves need to, in the first instance, recognise that some of the best people for vacant roles that they want to fill are probably already within their organisation. They are the senior associates and the personal assistants and the paraplanners and the, other people doing the actual work. Not that I don't do actual work. They have the knowledge, and if they have the desire to be client facing, these are the people that can fill our roles and as advisory roles. And, if employers, it leads me on to as well to employers, if they're looking to advertise externally, they need to be very, very aware of how they word the advertisements for the roles that they're trying to fill, and encourage diversity and gender neutrality to a large extent as well. So it cuts both ways. We can be brave and step up and apply to be in the roles, but I think employers also need to be aware of who they are actually looking for and who's on the decision panel in terms of people being employed as well. Because, often folk will employ somebody that they're immediately comfortable with themselves, and quite often that's like looking in a mirror. They're not employing a diverse range of people, which will just give depth and breadth to their business that, is needed.
Absolutely. I've got a couple of good questions, but Jo, I want to ask you a quick question. I did look at some statistics that came out of Australia recently, and they talked about, they have a student association of people that are financial advisors, financial planners, and half of those are women. So how do we encourage young women to become advisors? You're the role models. How do you attract them to come to your company? Now, you've got your niece working in there, but what are we advocating? What are we doing to encourage that?
I think, there's a lot of networking to be done and a lot of promotion within the industry. So you can only influence your immediate sphere. So your networks are who you want to, when you're out there and you're networking, you're absolutely, I know when I network, that's just a given. in the job. You know, you can't get away from it, especially when you're owning your own business. You've got to get out there and network. But when I am networking, I absolutely like to talk to women. It's not that I don't like talking to men either. It's you know, it's mutual. But what I'm saying is that you do make a beeline to talk to women in these networks when you're out there, and when you come across someone that's young and they say, oh, I'm only doing an admin role. I say, hey, that's not it's not just an admin role. Actually, an admin role and the back office is the backbone of an office, not going to lie. And it truly is. And so there's your opportunity there within your networks, is to take that coffee with them. Let's be clear here. The industry itself needs to be promoted a lot better than what it is right now. And I think if you talk to anyone in the industry, they didn't plan this as a career. We all fell into it. So, I do think that, something needs to be done there from an industry point of view, where we are absolutely targeting our schools and our young people there to say, hey, actually, have you considered what a financial advisor does? And, we all know there's many areas to move within the financial advising industry. I mean, you can go to marketing, you can go to legal, you can own your own business, being an insurance financial advisor. You can do pretty much anything you want within the industry, but people just don't know what is actually available from a career pathway here. So I'd like to see a lot more of that industry promotion being directed, more targeted at our school leavers, and working with those agencies that can influence that a lot better. So yes.
Yeah, absolutely, great answer. A question for Jude, and then a same question for Annabelle. So given that women are great at relationships, and we know that, Jude, where do you see the role of, platforms like Sharesies and Hatch and the future of digital advice and women with digital advice? I mean, have you got any comments on that?
So for me, it's a... whatever you invest in, I've said to a number, and I was working with a company recently where I was almost speed dating for financial advice, 15 minutes. And some of them were saying they were stepping onto those platforms. And I said, great, what do you know about it? Oh, nothing. Somebody just told me to invest it. And I said, well, whether it be KiwiSaver, whether it be an insurance policy, whether it be a digital platform, maybe start doing your research and understanding these platforms. Having said that, my daughter's moved into a role within social media, and we had some friends around the other night, and they were talking to our daughter, and they said, really, is that an actual job? So I think perhaps some of us oldies have to understand that there are these new platforms, tools for financial planning coming through. I still say, look, for myself, this is my area, this is what I give advice on. It may be that you go to someone else for advice, but I'm certainly not in a position to dismiss it. As I said, my recommendation is do your research.
Yeah, good answer. And Annabelle, thoughts on that?
I'd be the same too. I think it's possibly a good learning tool. But again, at the end of the day, people like to ask questions and feel comfortable. Am I doing the right thing? Would you do this yourself? So I've lots of friends' children are on, Sharesies and all that kind of thing too. But I sort of think maybe once it gets a bit bigger, and they may be comparing it to their KiwiSaver or whatever. But, I think down at the end of the day, people actually like to speak to a person about something as valuable as hard-earned money at the end of the day.
Annabelle, do you think, given your experience in going from like a broking house and a bank and back to a broking house, do you think confidence levels of women in particular have lifted over the years in the conversations and the meetings and the interactions that you have?
I think starting to see a lot more now people understanding their KiwiSaver. I think KiwiSaver has been a great tool to show people the ability to invest money monthly and watch it grow. And then especially what we've just been through in January with interest rates and inflation and seeing that amount fall, and then actually not being particularly worried because they've actually seen that during the GFC, or they've seen that through the start of COVID when they saw the value of their KiwiSaver fall. So I think KiwiSaver has been a really good learning tool for our people. And also there's a lot more women in business now and a lot more women working. So they're actually seeing their money go forward like that. So again, it's all learning. And I think if you can start with a KiwiSaver and feel comfortable with that, on it goes.
I think also I listened to David Boyle do his presentation on KiwiSaver on Friday as part of FSC as well, and I think he's simplified for New Zealanders, not only women but for New Zealanders, KiwiSaver and the questions that people should be asking of advisors and along the way. So Anne, I guess your thoughts on what you've seen over the years and the confidence levels of women and the new generation coming through.
I think it absolutely reiterate what Annabelle said in terms of KiwiSaver's given a really solid platform for many people to learn and understand how markets work, because it's, if you've got a vested interest in it yourself, you kind of look at it a little bit more closely. The other aspect is, of course, is the increasing number of women who have been working for a number of years, and I have to say the number of women without children as well who have worked hard and grown their own independent wealth, and the potential is still a little bit more cautious about how they've invested it because it is hard earned. And coming back to the sharesies type thing, I think that there's definitely still a real place for women to be able to talk to advisors about how to make their money work harder for them and actually get something out of it, because you alluded at the very beginning of this about the gender pay gap. So women are often coming into retirement with less because they've either had time off because they've had children or because they've just earned less along the way. So getting good advice on that hard-earned amount, and women live longer, of course, so they've often got less that needs to last them longer. So talking with women, it's often not as bad as they think that it is as well. So seeking advice and talking to people who understand what their needs are just builds that confidence for them as well. So I do think it's definitely growing. So
Yeah. And Deb, the work that you've done with International Women's Day, I guess my question is, do you feel that having a day dedicated to recognising women, global women, has that made a difference, do you think, to women's understanding in the financial services industry and their finances and their ability to ask questions and understand?
Yeah, so I think that the more emphasis we place on it and the more discussion we have, the stronger position we're going to be in regardless. So I think that it is good to have that focus, and it shouldn't be a focus for only one day. It should be a focus that we have throughout the year. So the more conversations we have and that we can have with people to encourage that empowerment, to build women's confidence in making those decisions is really important, because we know that 60% of New Zealand women don't think they've got a very high degree of confidence when it comes to making financial decisions or financial literacy. So I think that it is really important, to give it that focus, because that focus and that dedication can then flow throughout the rest of the year. And I think that's what's important, is how we continue those conversations.
Yeah, good points, ladies. Look, we've got probably about 8 minutes or so left, so I'd be really interested in your closing comments, a couple of minutes each, really just on any advice, any tips that you can give to prospective women thinking about coming into the industry as a financial advisor, and also for women that are perhaps looking to take advice from a financial advisor and a female advisor. So, Jude, if I can start with you.
Lovely, thank you. So I know as far as women managing their own finances or having an interest in their own finances, I'm always, when I sit down with a client, saying, right, this is a copy of your last annual statement. Can we read that so you understand the information that's being conveyed? And the FMA have, over the last couple of years, had a figure added to KiwiSaver statement saying, this is what your investment will look like at 65. And then when I sit down and say to them, did you see this? Do you understand what that means? This is what I think it means. I get this whole recognition and smiles and nodding of heads. And the same with insurance annual statements as well. When we read it and I sit down and go over it with them, do you understand? Do you know that this means that and this means that? So I think really what the big March lockdown last year did for a lot of New Zealanders, especially women, was gave them the opportunity to open all those unopened envelopes that were sitting in the kitchen pile and say, look at your statement. And I know I was flat out through that whole lockdown period. I've just looked at the statement. What does this mean? I said, great, let's have a conversation. And as for women working, admin, women in the industry, which is where I came from, I didn't come in with anything flash. I just came in with actually, that's really cool that what you've learned and what you're doing with your clients, I'd like to do that. And coming from a Pacific Island background, as well as having a disabled brother, those are sections of the community that need advice. You know, I've got a KiwiSaver going for my disabled brother. He'll never know, but we're getting his $500 every year that will go to his children one day. And those are really positive outcomes that I like to share.
Yeah, and I like your comments about the unopened mail. I think it gave us all a lot of time to do that, and I never really kind of thought about it like that. But I think you're absolutely right. And I think the other thing that we noted, a lot of companies noted during that period of time, is that the clients that were advised or had advisors were the ones that were least panicky, least wanting to pick up the phone and talk to a contact centre. So really good points, Jude. And so, Jo, your comments.
Thanks, Trish. It's sorry, I was just thinking how I'd want to say this, but I think for any woman, whether they're in the industry right now or considering, working within this industry, that they should take heart at the fact that you possess quite a few natural abilities for this industry. And what I mean is usually women will hold a strong emotional intelligence, they will have some automatic ability to care, and when you have those, in particular, two traits, then you've got all of what it needs to take care of your clients, because actually that's the most important part about why you do what you do in this industry. It's because you care for your clients and you want the best for them. And I think that for women looking into this industry, and I've not known anything about it, is that they can take heart that there's an amazing session like this that's been promoted and we're talking about it, and then you just look around at the panel and they're women that are passionate about other women doing well in this industry. So it's inclusive, not exclusive. And I think if you are looking for a part, wanting to own your own pathway, then this gives you the ability, this industry gives you the ability to have that self-determination to drive your own pathway and make it what you need it to be. Whether your reasoning for it is that you've decided that you want to understand your insurance policies better or your financial policies better, or whether you want to actually take that to a whole nother level and jump into the melting pot with all of us, which is totally what we're looking for, then go forward and do it. So as Jude said, be brave. I say be fierce and get in here.
Great words of wisdom. Thank you, Jo. Well done. Annabelle.
Well, I'd just like to say that I work with 8 amazing women who have all had different journeys and all offer different strengths. And so we really do rely on each other and help each other along. And to Craig's too, to their credit, have dedicated a marketing person for us to really get our women's health and wealth story getting out there. So we've been holding them in-house. We've actually got too big now, so we're looking to go out. But recently we're now just, talking about doing webinars, and it's going to be a bit like this. We can actually reach out to a whole lot of people and tell them what we do and why we do it. So I think we're strength in numbers and we're getting there slowly but surely. But I just think more things like this for people to learn. And I've just actually got an intern who's going to start working with me. She's going to do 140 hours working alongside me with from the university. It's called PACE, I think. So she's coming in and learning what I do. So that's from the university. So there are things out there that we can do and encourage. So yeah.
Yeah, good point. And about the sessions that you do for all your women, are they professionals, are they clients, or is it a mix of everybody?
It's a mix of everyone. So we get our clients and we ask our referrers in too. So, and that's really cool. The noise it gets noisier and noisier as they sort of recognise faces from the last time. So we speak on investing, and we have some sort of topical health person come in and speak. So it's been really successful, and it's been really cool as 9 women to do that together. So we're very lucky.
Great. Thanks, Annabelle. Deb, any comments or thoughts?
Yeah, absolutely. I've been sitting here listening to everyone talking. I had all my notes about what I was going to say, but I think at the end of the day, and what you've probably seen, is that there are so many different people that need advice, and there's so many different advisors with different styles and different ways of communicating and getting that empathy and the stories across. And we're all different. And at the end of the day, all our clients are different as well. So the more diversity we can have in the number of advisors out in the industry, the more people we're going to be able to reach. And I also think, kind of coming back to a number of us who've come through the industry in different places, is there's lots of different areas. So you've got banks, you've got brokers, you've got small businesses, you've got large organisations. There's so many different places that you can join, the wider industry and make a difference to people. And, whether you end up being an advisor or whether you end up in risk or legal or parapet or wherever you want to be, you can find your niche. And I think that's really important. So if you've got the skills to be an advisor and to talk to people, we'd love to talk more to you. So please feel free. Sorry, I'm putting everyone here. Please feel free to reach out to us and have a chat. But also, if you think the industry is something that you could add value to and you can help people over the long term, then, there's a lot of other parts of the industry as well that are crying out for really good people. But my last thought is, if you want to help people in the long term and you've got an interest in the financial markets, then this is the place for you.
Awesome. Thank you. And that was echoing a lot of Joe's commentary about, find your niche. And it's not just about maybe starting as an advisor, it's building your way through. So, Anne, some closing comments from you.
Gosh, it's a hard act to follow again. I request that if we ever do this again, that we actually go alphabetical, and A for Anne gets to go first. Absolutely, again, echo the previous comments, and I guess I bring it back to myself and in terms of why I do this role and why I can see myself doing it for a number of years yet, and it's. The benefits of it is, the working with clients and the long-term relationships that you build. We are talking to our clients about long-term investment strategies, and you want to assure them that you're going to be there into the future as well. And the job, we're continually learning. We have our own life experience that we can share. If you're a young advisor coming into it, then you can share the experiences and the life learnings of the fantastic people that are working around you, and you gain the appropriate financial education along the way, but always have a thirst and a curiosity for learning, because it's an ever-changing environment, and that's what keeps it exciting. It's not a boring job. It's not just about numbers and all of those things. There are many things happening, and it's people's lives that we're working with, and it's extraordinarily satisfying to know that you are making a difference in people's lives. Clients want to work with advisors that they feel comfortable with, and women often want to work with women as well. And it's diversity, again, in our industry will benefit everybody.
Great. And look, thank you, ladies. I promised at the start that this would be a stimulating discussion. And, it almost feels like I've been sitting here listening to 5 very wise women, all with different ideas that you've given us. When you talk about thirst and curiosity, and you talk about mentoring, Annabelle, you talk about finding your niche, Deb, you talk about just having the storytelling, Jude, and for you, Jo, just encouraging those people to come in and being welcoming to them. So, look, you've been amazing. I know that we do want to stimulate and carry on this conversation. It's just the start of it. So, look, to each and every one of you, thank you very much. I'll get Helen now to put up a slide, because this has kind of been the setting the scene for a number of other FSC Connect projects and summits that are coming along and events. So on the 8th of March, we've got Hilary Barry leading a fabulous team of women talking about breaking the bias. And I might say, but we've almost broken the Zoom rules, because I think the number of people that have registered for this session is outstanding. And I think today we've just given it a really good caveat for them to have some really good discussion. On the 11th of March, Mark Branovich is going to help launch the Locum Advisor Guide. I can recommend this session. It's been an amazing piece of work that Mark and a team of people have put together. And then on the 16th of March, we've got Samantha Barris, our new CEO of the FMA, talking. And then on the 18th of March, we've got a session on Should We Care? So again, thank you all so much, ladies. For those of you that have listened, there will be a recording, and sincere thanks to the Financial Services Council for supporting events of this nature. So take care, everybody, and enjoy your evening. Thank you.